That wasn't very interesting.
He's shaking his head no, like, you get the choice. I don't know what we're going to talk about tonight. We'll just randomly come up with something as we talk along. But I guess we could start off with saying we do have a tour at Peace Church tomorrow night. Tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m., I guess. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the history of Peace Church. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Never on camera, too, by the way. You stuck your tongue out at me.
We're used to video.
Yeah.
Well, anyone that's at our locale that wants to come out, we're going out to Peace Church Cemetery tomorrow afternoon, oldest cemetery in the area, unmarked war graves, serial killer Billy Cook, and lots of other history. Proceeds go to benefit the cemetery and help maintain it, so come out, show your support, and learn some history that you didn't know about the Joplin, Missouri area. Hey, John, did you see the headline today about Valeska Axe Murder House?
What? No.
No? Apparently, the police got called 4 o'clock this morning by a paranormal team investigating it. One of their members stabbed himself.
Now, why the hell would he stab himself?
Well, that wasn't in the report.
Are they saying he was possessed? You think that's what they're saying?
I don't know.
Why would they use a knife if they had an axe originally? Right?
Well,
Ben, you can answer.
sure.
Really?
Really?
He's 16, people. He's a good-looking, tall kid. He's got long hair. He's single. He likes men about the same age, same height.
You are horrible. No, seriously, that's kind of what I figure. Either the story's going to be that he somehow was possessed, or that it's just means of getting 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah, so did he kill himself?
No, but they had to med fly into Creighton University. So apparently stabbed himself fairly seriously.
No, I probably have this look like idiot on their case, but...
Yeah, I mean, my reaction was like, wow, really?
Yeah.
But apparently the story was that team members heard him scream and then went and found him.
Did he have with his own knife, or did he find it in the house?
Didn't say. Did not say.
I mean, depression hits. I can see doing things that you wouldn't use on. Things happen. But stabbing yourself, that's like insanity. I mean, that's like at a level of depression that is beyond the norm, in my opinion.
Well, and for a wound serious enough that you actually have to be med-fied to University Hospital.
They did some damage. Of course, there was that guy a couple of years ago when bath salts were the big thing, where he cut his. The cops came in and he cut himself. He gutted himself basically, and tested and stuff fell out on the ground. Yeah. The guy lived, but I mean that's just I don't know how you do that. I get a little scratch and I cry like a little girl. So I really don't understand that whole.
So what do you think that will mean for the Axe Murder House? Do you think it's going to increase interest, or?
Depends on how they spin it. Since they didn't say if they were trying to say he's possessed or not, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
In my opinion, some people in the paranormal world will automatically jump to the fact that he was possessed. It was the spirit of the axe murder, blah, 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 blah. And so they're going to play that stuff up. I can guarantee we'll start seeing that stuff floating around.
Yeah. Now, ironically, I work with someone who is from that area, and
ironically?
No, it's true. I was interjecting her.
Okay.
She grew up.
It's a very interesting name.
Yes. Well, her dad wanted to say. Jeff.
I get it, but
I I'm sure she'll appreciate that.
I will tell her.
I'm sure you will. Now that we've digressed. But she grew up there and actually went to slumber parties there as a kid.
Oh, that explains a lot. And now she's a lawyer.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But then later, she actually, before she went to law school, she was 911 dispatch for the sheriff's department, and they were called out there fairly regularly, she said. We were talking about this today, and they get called out there quite a bit for people seeing people in the house and then getting there, no one's there, or getting there and every door in the house is wide open, but no locks have been forced, things like that. So perhaps he did run into something.
That's interesting.
Ironic that when Zach from Ghost Adventures tried to tempt the spirit to not to act over.
Oh, that's not how. That's the thing. Oh, I remember that episode.
Yeah.
I'm making faces at the camera that's filming us right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, apparently the spirit didn't take that opportunity. But.
Am I still on camera if I sit like this? Oh, we're filming this for YouTube too, so if you want to watch us on YouTube, we'll probably post it sometime in the next morning on our YouTube channel, which isn't public yet. So,
well, you are having a day, aren't you?
with what?
Your clothes.
It's freaking Friday. I said it worked today, bored out of my mind. No, I didn't work late.
That never changes.
As little as humanly possible.
What do you think, you get a lot of different, questions and that kind of thing. Lately, we've been getting a lot of interest in different types of spirituality. And, well, different religions, alternatives, Wicca or Hindu, etc. Thoughts on how it dovetails with the paranormal?
I think that, dovetail, that's a big word. Not really. I think that people get into the paranormal looking for more than just spirits, ghosts, whatever. Mm-hmm. I think people are in search of more of a better understanding of the afterlife, what actually happens, and the people that are looking for a deeper understanding of the afterlife tend to look at more of the original faith systems, like the earth-based religions and stuff like that, because they are more true to who we are and what is really meant to be. I'm not saying that I think that Christianity is bad or Judaism is bad or yada yada yada. I have friends in all those faith systems. I'm just saying that people don't realize that all of the main faith systems are all based off essentially earth-based religion.
Well, yeah, it goes back to a root of religion that's just changed in different places.
Well, yeah, a lot of the people that were trying to get Christians or people to turn to Christianity were basically taking on pagan holidays and pagan customs to get them to change over.
Right.
And
change the names.
Yeah, a little bit of tweaking and poof, there you go, now you're a Christian. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know, and really to this day, they still follow some, but, it's not like it used to be, I don't think. And, there was a movie, it came out not too long ago called Noah. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of it. Mm-hmm. And basically, I've seen a lot of feedback from Christian people saying that it's not true to what happened. Well, my first question to that is, how the hell do we know?
Exactly.
You weren't there. The only description you have is that the book was written 300 years after the fact. And how do you know?
Exactly. However, there were similar stories written all around the world.
Sure. But my point is that the movie itself follows more of what I would consider that life was like back then. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so, people think that they live like we did.
Right.
We do now, back then. And that's just not the case. I mean, even Christians believe in herbology and, the use of scents to do certain things and healing and so forth. Doctors just didn't live on every corner like we do now. They had to have witch doctors and root people that, did those types of healings. They just had to.
Well, and really, pretty much every major faith system at some point has embraced that.
Right.
And really, I mean, that didn't get sort of beaten out of people until the Middle Ages.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at. A lot of that, they depict Methuselah as basically a shamanic character, which really, if you read the Bible, is pretty much how you would depict him. I mean, he lives in a cave by himself, and but he has this, connection to Earth where he heals Noah's daughter, or basically adopted daughter, and so she can have babies and so forth and so on. And Noah thinks of the devil and yada yada yada, and he's been told that he should kill this baby. Well, that's his grandchild. And anyway, that's a whole other thing. Anyway, that's just the faith system has changed so much because people are scared of the truth. I truly believe that.
Well, often anyone that's comfortable and reassuring.
Right, and they want what this one person says up here on the pulpit and says, and this is what you do, yada yada yada. Well, that's his interpretation. If you would read the Bible and interpret it your own way, then your interpretation could very well be different from theirs, or more in depth. Because I think sometimes we're kind of limited on what they do there. What they want people to know.
Well, and I think, when we then start talking about belief systems and the paranormal, we have to start looking at things like energy and the connection between things that in today's age we don't typically think of, except for more like cyclone-30s or something like that. But as far as everyday connections, relationships, people don't think in those terms, that there's a connection between everything and everyone. But if you go back to more earth-based philosophies, that was the assumption. And I think when religion started making people afraid of those things, that's when we started getting this taboo subject.
Well, people started falling away from their own intuitions and their psychic abilities,
because they were believing that's what they were being told.
Right, which surprises me, because if you're connected, as a lot of psychics are, to the world around you through energy, I don't know how you could believe it. I mean, I really don't understand that. But I guess, back then people, I'm not going to say they weren't as smart. In a lot of ways they were smarter, but they didn't have street smarts, that we have now.
Either that, or you go through a time period where, say, you go through a certain time period with major plagues and things like that, and just everything, the day-to-day life. Survival gets to the point that it's paramount, and people just kind of get disconnected, and then other things take over.
Well, and you're right. I think, that's entirely possible in my driving places. People started, wanting, we'll do for more, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to guess.
For sure.
I'm burning up spaghetti. And it's nasty.
But I think that, I think that the issue of how energy works is ultimately where there's going to be inroads made in the paranormal.
I think so too.
And let me just talk a little bit about that.
Go ahead.
Oh, your turn.
No, sir.
You are ready to see her shit.
Energy work in the paranormal. If you understand that everything is energy, then a lot of what we do as paranormal investigators is simply work with that energy. I think that, personally, I believe that if you tap into that, which we all have the ability to do, you could actually have discussion with spirit without devices. The devices are just for recording it. And a lot of times, we've seen this in investigations, they'll answer questions before we ask them because they're reading minds. And it's just that it's energy. They don't need to hear the sounds that we have to have because we've lost the ability to communicate telepathically. But they don't have to hear the sound. They just start answering questions. And sometimes we get that over echo boxes, flashlights, or recorders and such. And I think that probably what's going to change the most is that people, once they learn how to start using their intuition, and you're seeing it more and more. I see a lot of that posts on Facebook and stuff like that about using their intuition, how and people are starting to realize that it's not dark magic that's causing you to be able to do this. We're just intuitively able to.
Well, it's just a part of our senses, just like sight or hearing, etc.
I am not a Satan worshiper. I don't even believe in Satan.
Well, you have been accused of that.
I've been accused of being a Satan worshiper because I am a paranormal researcher. And flat out asked me if how did he word it? He asked me if I was a worshiper, which when I first thought he was asking me if I was a Christian, which I promptly said no, because that would be a lie if I told him that. And then I realized that he was asking me if I was a devil worshiper, and I again said no. I said I was not a Christian, because in essence, I mean,
they have to believe
that they have to believe in it for it to be part of their faith system, which I also believe in because I think that all faith systems have a balance. There's a balance in everything that we do. If there is no balance, then one side is not as good. If you don't have bad, you can't have good. Without the bad, you would never know what good is. So I believe that, and I'm getting off topic, but I believe that Lucifer, Satan, is God's balance, and God is Lucifer's balance. So we, as human beings, walk that great road in between the two, and that's where we have free choice. We have the ability to make choices and stuff like that.
Well, and that's certainly not limited to Christianity.
No, absolutely.
I mean, look at Buddhism, Chinese Buddhism, yin and yang. I mean,
that was even Buddhism doesn't have negative characters. Yeah, they do actually. I can't think of the name of it right off the top of my head. I can see it in my head, but I'm not getting it on my tongue. But they do have a flip side to their faith system. I mean, there has to be that dark side of anything. We all have it. It's whether you act on it or not, but it's got to be there so you know right from wrong.
And I know that seems to be a rather controversial subject in the paranormal because people immediately start talking about demons and possession and horns and yes. I think those are bunny ears. But and so. And there's a difference. There's a difference in recognizing that there is a darker side to things versus everything is demonic or inhuman. I know there are inhuman things.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are things that were never human that are in a little time that that doesn't necessarily mean that they are negative or evil. Some can be, some aren't.
Right.
And that's another thing, that it's for my soapbox is that I don't know that the part of the paranormal world that portrays the demonic as prevalent is serving a good interest. I mean, I think that they're hurting their own interest in the long run. Because
I think so too. I think, automatically if you start saying demon, who the hell wants to be around that?
well, yeah. Plus, it just gives a a bad view of things. And then let's think. I mean, if you're dealing with human spirits, there's some sense of personality and character that seems to be residual. It carries over. That if you're a jerk in life, there's a bit of that in death. Or
you call me a jerk?
Call me a jerk.
She meant that. That's a jerk.
But there's a fascination with jumping to the worst conclusion.
Oh, well, I think that's an everything too.
Mm-hmm.
But the paranormal, especially on TV lately, it seems to. I mean, and I quit watching the shows because, to be honest, it's kind of disheartening. Makes me want to kick the TV. I like my TV. I can't watch football without my TV. So.
Well, most of the portrayals are not very realistic.
Well, that seems to be. I mean, they're automatically going demonic when, I'm getting possessed, or I'm getting scratched, or I'm getting this, I'm getting that. Just because you get scratched doesn't mean it's demonic. Just because it's in threes doesn't mean it's demonic. And in fact, the Trinity is not necessarily a demon thing. Mocking the Trinity maybe, but
And there's a strong argument too that even if it were demonic, that it would not be in threes because that would give
itself away.
It would give itself away and would also acknowledge the Trinity.
Right.
By definition, demonic should not do.
Right. I agree with that. I mean, and I think you said before too during investigations, people asked about it. They're not going to want you to know that they're there, or they are demonic. And that wouldn't be an even way.
Well, and cases that really have added up to perhaps being demonic, and they are very few in numbers, that's how they tend to go. I mean, it's very deceptive as far as it starts out subtly, it starts out, focusing off on one person, other people are not affected, so they don't suspect that it's anything other than someone being depressed or this or that. I mean, you're not going to have demonic, prancing into the room with hook cribs and prancing.
Somehow those be demon doors.
That's what happened now. But it was a rare thing. I think that was the secret word for tonight, I guess.
The secret word that I did. I'm going to drink on my pop. Okay, so how long is the show? Do we have an hour?
Yes, we
do. Dear God, baby, Jesus. We got like 30 more minutes to talk about something.
No, there's something tonight.
What am I?
I haven't decided. Maybe you're prancing.
I'm prancing. Prancing! I need a hat.
Yes, you do. You haven't worn a hat for a while.
I know, I need a new hat. I need to get a PO box and have people start sending me hats.
And she's done that in the past.
I think that's an excellent idea. So, I think we should discuss, we started cemetery tours.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. People often talk about cemeteries being haunted.
Okay, I heard about them.
Usually they are.
Usually they're not.
There's something there for another reason.
Is that okay, here too?
Yes.
Freaking cat.
No,
I love my cat.
You can tell.
How do you love my coat?
But, usually cemeteries are not haunted by and large, and that's an operator question asked, but
I don't know that I think mostly they're not haunted. Mm-hmm. I think the couple that we do tours at are.
Well, yeah.
And for weird reasons. I'm really not sure why. I mean, we went into one, we had a tour last weekend at one of the local cemeteries, and I cemetery. And I won't say the names of the graves and stuff like that, but we did go into one mausoleum, and there was very obviously something there, and it affected one of our team members. I could feel it. You felt it. And one of our team members that really doesn't classify himself as a sensitive basically backed out and walked about 50 yards back. Which is odd, because, and the person was a founding member of this town, so I'm not really sure why he was, I guess that would be why he was hanging around Joplin,
Right.
but not necessarily his mausoleum.
Of course, might not have been him.
That's true.
There's other family members there, and of course, maybe someone else there. Now, of course, this kind of affects it. There were some more skirmishes there.
That's true, too.
And unmarked graves.
I'm sure of that, yes.
So it's not clear.
What was that?
I don't know. We were here at the John White's house, as we all are on our show.
Did you hear that?
And we're hearing footsteps.
Your mother's still talking, so we're trying to listen. We hear things here all the time. If anybody's never been to this place, which there's a few people that might be listening to do. It is active. We get quite a few EVPs here. Two guys arguing, young lady giggling, and somebody just standing there. You hear that again? Footsteps. Right now we're hearing banging from upstairs. I'm not really sure what that's about.
We do hear doors banging in here at times with the arguments. So watch for when they post a new tour at the John White house.
Yeah, we need to get some of these tours up. We're kind of, I'm telling you what, Halloween's a rough time of year.
Yeah. And that's things that we're using the viewers tonight, listeners, all our advanced benefit historic locations for maintenance and preservation. So have a good time and benefit a good cause. Kind of back to cemeteries, that may be why there was something there, but I tend to believe that usually if there's activity there, it's for, something happened on the ground or graves disturbed, that kind of thing.
Right.
But,
well, like the cemetery we're going to tomorrow, there's unmarked graves under the road, which, they call it a desperation road or something like that. But you picked up on it. Actually, I picked up on it.
Well, and there was, and the back part of it, on the east side was a pauper's burial too, and they were actually graves on top of each other unmarked. And wasn't Civil War mass grave, and
right.
serial killer, which is unmarked.
Yeah.
And so.
But active.
Yeah.
Unmarked, but active.
Yeah. So, I think those are reasons that talking about cemeteries, it kind of brings up other beliefs and practices around cemeteries.
As in, you talking about voodoo and voodoo?
Sure.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You're more versed in it than I am. I got this snazzy little book that I've been reading. I just got it today, so I've read like 3 pages and skimmed through the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's a very, long traditions in different parts of the world that cemeteries, graveyards hold a lot of energy, a lot of power, and voodoo that can be used for spell work, etc. I think the root of that belief is just the belief in the ancestors, or the cult of the ancestors, which is kind of worldwide, that there's a connection to ancestors and they can empower when it's developed over time.
Absolutely, and your connection to ancestors doesn't necessarily have to be voodoo or voodoo. And if anybody is, I've been doing a lot of reading on that. It's interesting. There's a lot of Christianity based in both faith systems, both voodoo and voodoo. The New Orleans style of voodoo especially seems to have Christian, probably more Catholic is probably a better description. And I'm sure my friend Uncle Julie will tell me that I'm wrong if she hears this. But so they have a very Catholic understanding of saints and so forth. But anyway,
it's a mixture.
Right, it's a mixture.
In
and
African.
Well, and that's how they hid it. Well, they hid it in Christianity and Hinduism. You know,
Sure.
They when the slaves were brought over, are forced to be here back in during the beginning of our country here. They had to hide their faith systems and the magic that they used because they would get beaten and used from using it. So they would mix it in with Christianity so that nobody would guess what they were doing.
Right, and that's probably good. That's a good example of how belief systems have changed over the centuries.
The morphing of it, sure.
Yeah, because people took what they believed in, and particularly if they were in situations where they were sort of being forced into other systems, incorporating it so that they wouldn't be discriminated against.
Well, if anybody's done any reading on and I don't want to show to sound like they're gash Christians.
No.
These are facts. Back in the beginning of this country, Christianity was used as a tool to control the masses. Mm-hmm. You were hung, beaten, just for doing the smallest of things. And so, they didn't have much of a choice but to hide what they were doing inside of the Christian faith so that they could still practice and yet look like that they were following, Christianity. And actually what happened from the reading that I've done is that the Bible itself has given the magic more power in a lot of ways. And I think that has to do with just about any faith system. If you put energy into it, it's going to happen. Intention is everything.
Yeah.
And I actually had this discussion with others in pagan religions, is that, all of these gods and goddesses and so forth and so on that all the different religions have, with all of the energy that is put into those have to manifest at some point. Mm-hmm. So that power is there, whether that god or goddess or whatever actually ever existed. But even if you put somebody's walking stick, you put so many millions of people and you start believing one thing and it's going to change.
Well, maybe.
And that's all energy. That goes back to energy too.
Exactly. Well, in the secular terms now, self-help psychology terms, it's positive thinking or whatever, intention manifests reality.
Lots of activity here today.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. Wish we had a cover going, huh? Anybody want to come over? Just run into her. The hell?
Yeah.
What do I want to talk about? We're talking about who graveyards and there's some parts of it that I have, and I don't have a Christian background. I was born, I was baptized in a Baptist church. When I was 5, I was pretty much out of it. My mom, I pretty much felt allowed to believe whatever I wanted to. But in some ways, some of the stuff that I've read, I would never go, and it's just a little too dark for me, maybe. Not really my forte. I do very much believe in walking a great road, but that doesn't mean that I have to put my toes in the black all the time.
Right.
And, so I think that, we walk this middle road. I mean, and not everything is all, shit and rainbows and puking hearts, but, what?
Wow.
Hey, they're not radio, I can say shit. But, you know, and we know that. We know that as human beings, we understand it. We would like it to be, but like I said, if it was that way, you know, we would know it, you know.
Very true.
And I'm shitting rainbow chicken skittles. Is that better?
I'm not sure I want any Skittles again.
Skittles are yummy. Once you pick them up.
You wouldn't have a popper I could put in.
No, pop it. Actually, I thought about making them pop it. Just what I could.
Is that too dark?
Want to pop it?
Yeah.
It's a tumble.
Okay.
I don't know. I was just going to make them and tell them I wasn't going to use them.
Okay. So what would you consider too dark?
What was it I was reading? And I read briefly about it. Basically, it's like, you know, I guess really it wasn't so much that the idea was dark. It was shutting somebody up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it was done. It just seemed twisted. You know, cutting the tongue open, drilling a hole, that stuff, dirt, that, hot sauce. I mean, you know, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It just seems like there was a lot. And to me, using graveyard dirt is one thing. Using graveyard dirt from a grave is a whole other animal. To me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The same reason that I want urinate in a graveyard.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm not leaving any of my DNA anywhere near.
Nothing for a ghost lab to ghost DNA.
Yeah, there will be no. Yeah.
No DNA in the afterlife.
Absolutely not.
But you know, again, I think a lot of when you're talking about
With a memory hole.
those,
Just like Paranormal Science.
yeah, just when you're talking about spell work and so forth, you know, there's a variety of approaches for the same result often.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I just, you know, partly I think it has to be what each person is comfortable with. That I think people need to understand what they're doing. And, and that there is a, you know, and often there is a cost to be paid.
Right, and you know, you should not. If you don't, just because you have a book, just because I have this book, Working in the Garden by the New Alvarado and the Dream by Angela, free plug. You can write me a check for $19.95. Payable to it. No. Just because I have this book, I wouldn't run out to a graveyard and start doing it.
Right.
I mean, this is just informational for me. It is just informational. It's very in depth. I mean, and it's for a small book. It's got a lot of information in it. It doesn't mean that I know what I'm doing to go out and start spinning.
Well, I think that's a good point, is that and you see it in various aspects of paranormal and the supernatural and witchcraft, different crafts. You have people who are in it for a thrill.
Yeah.
You have people in it, you know, basically it's an adrenaline junkie
Right.
thrill, you know.
Well, I don't want to scare people, or I'm hardcore, or I'm punk, or I'm after, you know.
You know, if they were doing this, they'd be bungee jumping, you know.
Right.
And that is that's a lot different than people who are going at it with the intention of understanding or research or coming to some resolution of something. And I'm not sure that distinction is made a lot.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I think that, well, Tristan and my son and I were actually having this conversation just yesterday. He was talking about how the quote-unquote Wiccans at his school annoys him, and I said, well, that's because they aren't really Wiccans.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, there are some adult Wiccans that annoy me, but for the most part, I understand where they're coming from. The problem is with especially children and some adults, there are some quite few, they have a tendency to want to be scary or dark or, it's cool, I'm depressed, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not what any of this is about.
Right.
None of our faith, in any way, shape, or form, has anything to do with being depressed.
We're usually wearing it on your sleeve.
Yeah. And people, we don't run around in black clothes all the time or 5,000 reasons. I mean, that's just not who we are.
But you have one community.
Not my children. I had to cut them off from my belly. When it's just puppy dog tails, I just wiggle. What?
Oh, boy.
But it's true, though. I mean, I know people, adults, that want this, patty look on their, they look kind of,
Yeah.
literally, they look like that. I saw one like that today. And I'm thinking, you're not helping your cause.
Right.
You're not, people will judge you based on the fact that you look like you're trying to take a crap in the middle of the road. I mean, all the time.
Right.
So, why don't you relax a little bit, be who you are, and enjoy being connected to Earth and move on. I mean, you don't have to spook everyone just because you're a witch.
Well, and I really kind of feel that way about pretty much any
I agree.
religion. If you have to project it and wear it on your sleeve, then usually those people aren't really comfortable with themselves to begin with.
I think they're trying to hide something. You have to.
And that's not what it's about. But again, it goes back to intent.
Right.
And I think when you are delving into the paranormal and the supernatural, intent is very important. And this also goes into the discussion of, well, what's evidence and what approach do you take? And, and is an intuitive approach mutually exclusive of a scientific approach? I don't think it is. I think you can have both.
I think you can have both, absolutely. I think that being intuitive, it's nice to be able to document what we get.
And I understand the reason that there's a lot of people that I want it has to, everything is objective scientific, and because they want validation, they want something that can be hopefully reproduced and replicated, and to guard against fraud and fakes and hoaxes.
I wouldn't in a million years expect someone to believe what's in my head.
And I think that's the thing, is I think that's what people miss sometimes, is that you have to say, okay, you have this intuitive aspect of research that is a tool, and it's part of the method, I guess, method of the research, but it's not the result.
Right.
My experience is not evidence. It's not something that is a conclusion. It's something that hopefully can be used in the course of research to get evidence.
I agree with that. I think, any in my mind, anything other than audio, video, specifically, should be not evident. I mean, if I can't physically hear it, or physically see it, then in my mind it's not evident.
Right.
Even if you're playing with a temperature, thank you. Crazy. If you're messing with the thermometer and you're checking, temperatures, that should be filmed.
Right.
Because just because I'm sitting there going, oh my God, it's 24 below zero in here.
Yeah.
You can believe that crap. I'm not sitting here going, I'm going,
Yeah.
So there should be some documentation of it. Now, on the other side of that, I agree with you that both of us being intuitive, we tend to use it quite a bit in investigations because it's helpful.
Right.
We get to information sometimes that they can't talk through any of our devices.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, and especially if they're just talking into the EVP setup, then they're not going to know anything until we actually go through that. So it's kind of nice to be able to, at least if we're getting information a little bit, we can kind of play on that and try to get them talking on the EVPs. At least we've got that,
Right.
And it would be recorded because, we've got the mic right there. So I see less of that than I do the Echo Box. I like the Echo Box because it's instant gratification, but I'm a Taurus, so that's why I like it.
Well, I mean, I'm a Cancer. I like that too.
Whether I don't like you.
Ow! I didn't.
That's your history.
Did not. Minor.
You got 5 minutes. I'm going to talk about in 5 minutes.
I don't know. But you're going. I'm not sure I'm going to talk to you.
Don't worry, Steve. I was listening to some audio from Kendrick Townsend. It's pretty funny. Believe it or not, I've gone all through that whole investigation, and I haven't heard one EVP from that.
Really?
That is so rare.
Yeah, I did.
Kendrick. I'm almost wanting to go back through it because I've had to have missed something. Or somebody else listened to it because I can't imagine Kendrick not producing
No, that's
any.
that's really odd.
Must have been, well, I'm not sure.
Someone negative?
Remember the lady that had her on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my investigation.
Well, there's a good point to bring up is that the people present can often do it that.
And we can almost pick out who it is, too. You can usually tell if somebody's throwing off energy that's going to just block all this damn night.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, guess what? You're not going to get crap.
Well, it's boring. Spirits just like the living, they don't like
I don't want to be around those people,
negativity either, so it's like, why should I talk to you?
Yeah. And I've noticed this, like certain people like that the spirit doesn't even come around. They're just like, screw you guys, I don't have to be here. I can go to another dimension. I ain't gonna hang out with you.
Exactly.
I don't know.
You think something else?
Yeah, there's something on the stairway right there. I keep seeing one went up and then one kind of on the little where it comes down from the the first landing. I saw something moving in there. And then I saw something walk across through that doorway, and I saw something walk across here, and something there.
Well, they're interesting. They're doing something different.
Well, we're here by ourselves, so they know that we're not going to harm them or hurt them. We just simply do nothing. Well, they've been quiet telepathically.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've just been hearing the footsteps, haven't you?
yeah, just audio upstairs. I wish I could come upstairs now. Anything better. Anyway, we got about 3 minutes.
Well,
And
we're going to be...
we delivered your orders, Skype. The hell did I get?
Well, I mean, we're going to be getting back to normal and bringing in some guests.
Yeah, we've got, I guess, I don't know, do we have anybody next Friday?
Not yet.
Not yet. So if you're interested, give us a call. Or email us. John at Paranormal Science Lab, or Lisa at ParanormalScienceLab.com. We do have Terry Hartley on the 21st. That should be interesting because we'll be driving to Chicago.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll be up there by then and sitting somewhere.
Otherwise, we may be doing the show from the car.
Which might be fun because Alex will be in there. And he's random.
Very random.
Other than that.
And we might take some callers that night too.
Yeah, we're going to try. I don't know how we're going to do that yet. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we're kind of doing this. We're from video to audio only, so, bear with us till we get our bearings and get things leveled out and get back to what we were doing. And try out here for King. Trying to make money for the ring.
Wow.
You're welcome.
We've had to throw that in. Well, we appreciate everyone, and
yeah, thank you everyone for coming to our first audio-only show ever. And
I think we just haven't known what to do with ourselves because we're used to being animated on
yeah, you can't see me. I'm pretty freaking boring.
I'm the one who's benefiting from the faces.
Yeah, I'm making all kinds of faces, people. Really, I am. Just you can't see me. We will be putting this on YouTube eventually. I'm not sure if this one will go on YouTube because, we'll see. And but we will be. We're going to record our shows and do the audio and we're going to upload. So
tune in next week, and
we don't know who will be here, but somebody cool. So watch our page and see.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.